Welcome down, everyone, to another episode of Those Nerds You Know. My name is Ethan.
I'm Eddie.
And we are Those Nerds You Know. And
We're
today...
a podcast that we do things and talk about geeky stuff.
That's right. We have to explain what this is. I'm sorry.
We should do this for every episode.
Yeah, in case you don't know what we do, we talk about nerdy stuff. Because we're Those Nerds You Know. We have little conversations about games or movies or comics that we like or maybe
TV
really
shows.
hate. Yes, TV shows as well. And you can listen to us while you get other things done.
Yeah. Let us be your
Anyways,
background noise.
Yes. Today we are coming at you specifically to talk about a game. A wonderful little tiny game called
wonderful.
Undertale.
Undertale. It is the third anniversary today.
Yes.
To date the episode. It is September 15th. Came out 3 years ago. And it is probably one of my top 5. I know I say that like a lot actually, but this is legitimately like one of my top 5 games.
One of your top 5 games.
Yep.
Ooh, what a stretch. Holy crap.
A stretch.
Oh, what a bold claim.
Indeed.
So,
do you want to hear a few facts about Undertale before we get into the nitty-gritty?
No, first I want to explain why we're doing this. Eddie really likes this game a lot and has convinced several of our friends and myself to play it. He convinced David to play it probably a couple of years ago now.
I did.
And he did, and that was fine. And now I have played it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be honest, it's not one of my favorite games.
but it is better than your initial
I think
thoughts.
so. I think yes, but
Yeah,
anyway,
you have your comments on it. Now.
More on that later.
We'll come back.
Give us some facts.
All right. Well, other than a few designs of some of the monsters, this entire game was made by one person. Mm-hmm. His name was Toby Fox. His name is Toby Fox. He's still present in the gaming community. It was kickstarted back in 2013, where it raised $51,000, a little over $51,000 of its goal of $5,000. It was later released in.
What was the like promotional material like?
I think he put out a description of the game, some initial like music tracks, and some silly animations from the game, or like some potential animations that would be in the game, and people just really clung to it. And also, this game is predominantly furry oriented, I would say, with all the and anthropomorphic animals in it. So I'm pretty sure like the furries clung to it and like spread the word and stuff.
Yeah. It's funny to me because it's not entirely furry, right?
It's definitely a combination of because I mean
true.
Skeletons aren't furry,
and you play as a human, not a furry.
Exactly, but you interact mostly with anthropomorphic animals throughout the game. A lot of dogs.
True. Yes. Goofy
and
dogs.
It was released
in armor.
Yeah. It was released in September of 2015. September 15th, 2015. Today, it's one of the biggest indie games ever, totaling at approximately $25 million to $30 million in sales.
My God.
Yeah, I told you $3 million before, but I was like, that sounds low. So I went back and researched, and it's actually
so much money on there.
Yeah, from $51,000 to $25 million is ridiculous.
I should make a game.
Yeah, right. Do it. It's currently being released on the Nintendo Switch. A few days, which I'm probably going to purchase as well.
That's true. Yes.
September 18th, I think, is the date it comes out.
Think I'm gonna pass?
It's been nominated for about 40 awards, 12 of which it's won, including Zero Punctuation's Game of the Year.
That is unreal.
GameFAQ's Best Game Ever, and IGN's PC Game of the Year.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's currently retaining a Steam rating of 10 out of 10 with over 80,000 user reviews, which is probably the biggest what the crap like statistic that anybody can give about this game.
Yep.
Because,
It's definitely a what the crap for me.
And it's got a 92 on Metacritic, which puts it about the 39th, 40th PC game of all time of nearly 4,000 games.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's got its stars and stripes of gaming, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
The fact that this game was made by mostly by one person is quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
So, what didn't you like about it either?
Oh.
No. Let's talk about the plot and stuff.
Yes.
And we'll get into the things. So, this game starts off with a prologue. It says a long time ago there were two races that ruled over the earth, humans and monsters. A war broke out, and the humans were victorious over the monsters. Mm-hmm. Up to this point, we don't know why there was a war or what the war was over. But either way, the greatest magicians of the humans confined the monsters into the underground with a magic barrier. Many years after the war, a human climbed Mount Evet, which is like the only known entrance to the underground. And he falls. The human that falls basically wakes up in the underground in a bed of flowers. And that's really where the game starts. We meet, our first encounter is Flowey, who claims to be our best friend. He's like, hey, you welcome to the underground. This is a great place with lots of friendly people, and he's going to tell you how the world works there. And basically it shows you your UI, your like stats and stuff.
Yep.
Shows your little heart, which represents your soul as a human, and he tells you to catch some friendliness pellets, which is basically introducing you to the combat of the game, which is a bullet hell system.
Yes.
And if you get hit by it, it basically brings your HP to 1. And then he's like, haha, I'm going to kill you. It's in this world, it's kill or be killed. And he surrounds you with pellets, and he's about to kill you before you're saved by Toriel, the goat mom of the ruins.
Yep,
but,
the goat mom.
It's funny because I know you don't know this, but oh, you might actually. Did you dodge the friendliness pellet the second time that you played?
The second time I did, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So he tells you, you know what's going on here and stuff.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He calls you stupid or an idiot or whatever. He likes to throw names around. But Toriel, which is a play on the word tutorial.
Yes.
Brings you through the underground and tells you that you're going to be very happy there, and she wants to take care of you. Basically, be all around motherly to you. She's supposed to be this teacher. Unfortunately, that's one of the weird points of the game, even though it's the beginning, because a lot of people didn't really feel connected to Toriel as much as
nope.
as Toby intended, most likely.
This is
even
one
though
of them.
A lot of people did, but I
that
feel
felt
that
really creepy to me.
Yeah,
to be honest.
No,
with
it was
you.
definitely like she doesn't want you to leave, obviously, for reasons that you come to learn later when you're about to leave the ruins.
Yeah.
But she basically she has good intentions, but she executes it poorly. Basically telling you that you can't leave at all, and
she's creepy.
You're gonna be there forever.
So I had to kill her, and I did. Murdered her.
So throughout the game, you have a choice of either fighting the monsters that you come in contact with, or completely sparing them.
Right.
You have the option of not fighting and talking, or killing them, basically, like a regular RPG would. Through the ruins, you kind of learn that you don't have to fight the monsters, and Toriel encourages you not to.
Right.
By giving you like a dummy setup and like talk to the dummy, and it's pretty hilarious. But especially since it's referred to later. But through the game, you can either if you interact with these monsters, you find that they're you find out a little bit more about them. You can choose to spare them or do a mixture of whatever, and it is an illusion of choice, and we'll get into that later. Which is another gripe that you had about it, I think.
Absolutely, freaking it is.
But through the game, you don't have. It's encouraged that you don't fight the monsters, but you can if you want to.
Yes.
It does affect the ending, however. Also, I should preface this with if you haven't played this game, I recommend you not listen to this. I probably should have said this at the beginning.
Yeah, no, I mean, the description will say spoilers. Like, if you haven't played the game, don't listen to this if you have any inkling at all to play it.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're going in blind, because I think that's the best way to do it.
Almost
if you have a lot of patience and are willing to
maybe that's
play
my problem.
through the game a couple of times.
Maybe I'm not patient.
Yeah, I would say that as well. You're not a very patient person, which is why I initially stopped you whenever you said you killed Toriel. I was like, you're not gonna play through this game again, so
I will not. That is accurate. I'm not patient when it comes to video games. I think is specifically what I'm not.
And that's I think that was a flaw in my ultimate plan, is that you don't sit well with patience. Anyway, but anyway, you encounter monsters through the ruins, mostly froggets and momas or whatever they're called. They're pretty non-lethal, but you can die pretty easily if you're not paying attention.
I died quite a bit early on.
Yeah. And
especially after I started over and attempted to not kill anyone.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much easier to kill them.
It really is. No, it's definitely a lot easier to actually just go through the game killing monsters, whatever. But that's where the challenge comes in. You have to play it differently. But anyway, you go through the ruins and learn all about the game and the puzzles that are going to come your way, and get introduced to a few other characters like Napstablook and the Ghost. And eventually you're led to Toriel's home. And it's like a normal home. I mean, she's got a living room and some bedrooms and a kitchen, etc. But obviously you can't stay there.
Right.
You have to progress, get out of the underground, find your way back home, which is a thing, apparently, because it's referenced to quite a few times. It's like you have a place to go back to.
Okay.
So after confronting...
Why can't we just stay there, though, Eddie? Why can't that be an option in this branching, quote-unquote, storyline?
You can't. See, the thing is, if you keep...
I'm going to stay here. Thanks. Roll credits.
If you... there's the thing, if you go to bed multiple times, Asgore is like, hey, you need to get up and go.
Really? Asgore does that, or Toriel?
It's Asgore's voice. I think he comes in a dream or something.
Got you.
Probably magic or something, because that's referenced to a lot.
Yeah,
but
makes sense.
He's basically telling you to...
He is trying to kill you, so...
Yeah. So, spoilers, Toriel doesn't want you to leave the underground, or leave the ruins, because Asgore is waiting for you, and he will most certainly kill you. And that's where the disconnect comes in, because obviously you have to progress, but she doesn't want you to die. And so instead of keeping you, she's like, okay, prove yourself to me that you can take care of yourself. And at that point, a battle ensues with a really great song called Heartbreak. our heart... oh god, I can't remember the name now.
It's okay, it doesn't matter. I'm joking.
Yeah, whatever. No, it's a good game. It's Heartache, not Heartache. Yeah. But you fight Toriel, and you... And it's funny because it's a bit confusing here too. I think if Toby set up the beginning a bit better, this game would be pretty flawless. But I agree that the beginning has some questionable things happen. Most including Toriel, because you don't spend a lot of time with her. But it's a 3 hour, or if you play through it, just blast through it can take you 3 hours to get through. But getting all the endings can take up to 6 to 9 hours. But
or just playing through it in general.
But anyway, after you can talk to Toriel and spare her multiple times, and she's obviously very scared to let you go through, but your determination shows, and she obviously, she says, all right, well, Asgore is probably gonna kill you.
Heck yeah,
but,
bring it on,
let's
go.
You here. I can't keep you here, and you can leave, but you can't come back. You can't come back to the ruins. And this is goodbye. So basically, and through the fight, you'll notice some things as well. If she's attacking you, if you get lower health, the flames will start the things that she shoots at you in the bullet hell area will start missing you.
Yeah, start dividing like the Red Sea to avoid you.
Because she doesn't want to hurt you. She just wants you to learn a lesson. But you know, as all mother figures do, or should.
Too bad. Now you're gonna die.
But if you, so in the ruins, one of the froggets tells you that if a monster isn't, you know, showing, like, what you call it?
It's not letting you spare them. If it's not letting you walk away.
If they're not letting you spare them, or if they're not leaving you alone, you can attack them to induce a spare. Like you can whittle down their will to fight you.
Yep.
And if you do that tutorial, you can attack her a few times, and then like when you get halfway down of her HP bar, that next attack takes the entirety of it, and she dies.
Yep.
So if you
surprise kill shot.
That freaked me out. Like that was my first introduction to Undertale's like save and quit system, because it plays around with that. So you, if you do kill a monster, and you go back to the save, it knows you did that. It keeps a record of the things that you do, regardless if you save or not.
Yes, which is I think, pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's one of the things I thought was very interesting about this game.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely. So after I reset it with Toriel's fight, after that, after you talk to her initially, she gets a little extra dialogue. She's like, "Are you okay? It looks like you've seen a ghost." And I was like, "What? What the crap?" So I went through and eventually spared her because there's repeated dialogue in the dialogue box, which I thought was kind of silly, but
right.
Because she has ellipses in like 5 of the dialogue options, and I thought I couldn't progress from there. I didn't have a lot of patience in that. So after I spared through her, she's like, "What are you doing? Why are you looking at me like that? You have to stop this, blah blah blah." But anyway, you eventually make it past her, and Flowey meets you again. And whenever I had gone through again after the save point, he was like, "We both know what you did." And I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I gotta stop now.
That got me when I started over. So I killed her, and you were like, "Please start over." And I was like, "Okay, I guess." And so I did. And the flower's like, "Yeah, I know what you did. You murdered her." And I was like, "Bro."
Yeah. No, that got me.
That actually scared me. Yeah.
And I think that was one of the bigger points that like captured me, and I think that's what Toby intended to do in the first place, because of that little hint of you should attack some monsters if they're not, you know, if they're still trying to fight you. And I was like, okay, you know, I'll do that. And I think that's a bigger impact, because that point right there is what got me. Like, I wanted to play this game through and find out what other things that you could do to have that affect you and stuff. So that's the beginning part.
Yep.
I kind of divide this game into like 4 or 5 parts, depending on how you play it. But the second part is you meet Sans, who is obviously he called himself a sentry. He's supposed to verify all the people that come through and things like that, but he's very lazy. And he likes to tell a lot of jokes. He's just a funny guy. And he's like
funny
the most
is subjective.
He's one of the most iconic characters in the game. Because when you talk about Undertale, people will say Sans Undertale, blah 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 blah. But he's a very big character in the game. Initially, you don't know that, of course, but later on, it's apparent that he has a lot more going on than meets the eye.
Right.
But
I guess I don't know if that was ever apparent to me. Like, it just seemed like he was just like a goofball that didn't care about anything.
Yeah, no. I mean, like in like you watched the genocide area.
Right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, far in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you learn that he's got a lot more going on later on, and he gives little hints about it like through the game, but not very much. I think he's got like 2 or 3. Hey, you need to watch your back. Dialogues. Because like they always talk in their or they have their dialogue boxes in their specific font. So like Sans is obviously Sanskrit.
Yep.
And Papyrus, who is his brother, talks in Papyrus font, which is weird to say after playing a game like this.
Yep.
But so you're introduced to these two skeleton guys, Sans and Papyrus, who are brothers, and they live in Snowdon, which is a pretty nice snowy town that you go through. It's not too big of a plot point, but
it's just a little place. And Papyrus is trying to kill you so he can be popular.
Well, he's trying to capture you for Undyne,
right?
So he can be part of the royal guard, and but being the softy that he is, he's like, I'm gonna be your friend instead. And that's a big theme through the game. Like, there's like the monsters are initially hesitant about you or even aggressive toward you, and you eventually turn their opinion on you to be friendly. And
another theme of this game is monsters continuously interrupting you when all you're trying to do is get through a gosh darn corridor.
Yeah. Well, that's... Wait, are you talking about Alphys or...
eventually Alphys is the worst, but like Sans also calls you. Like, he'll call you up and be like, hey, you, it's like before you get to Undyne, it's like, you wouldn't have to be wearing a bandana, would you?
Oh, that was Papyrus. Yeah, Papyrus asks you what you're wearing. And
it's like, no reason, you know. And I'm like, God, this is dumb.
Anyway, he tells you about Undyne, and she's like the leader of the Royal Guard. And she's like the first soldier on Asgore's like fighting squad.
She's second-hand man to Asgore. Top lieutenant, whatever it would be. She's in charge of killing humans before he's in charge of killing humans, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So and you see little glimpses of her after you get out of Snowdon and you make friends with Sans and Papyrus. You see her like looming over your walkway, and like you hear Papyrus being like, "Hey, I saw the human and I couldn't capture him. Sorry."
Yep.
And of course, you know, he doesn't want you to fall to harm to her, so he does have little interactions through the next part, which is Waterfall. And he asks you, you know, what you're wearing, and if you're wearing something else, he says, "Oh, I told her that you were wearing this thing because you wouldn't possibly be wearing this thing now because you knew I was talking to Undyne."
Yeah.
So he's trying at least to mask your appearance from her, but it is invasive if you're playing the game and it is kind of involved with everything that's happening. It kind of like breaks your
focus. Certainly for me, and it's just like okay, let me just input one of my gripes in this game, and that is like, I've never played a game before where talking to people felt so useless. Like, no one I speak with has anything good for me.
Yeah.
Or information for me, and everything they say is either a joke or just something that was maybe meant to be a joke, or just some weird, dumb thing. Yeah,
well, one of the things that Toby takes inspiration from is Mr. Bean, the show Mr. Bean. The British You know who Mr. Bean is, though.
I know who he is. I've never seen the show. I'm not familiar with the
it's
goings
kind of
on.
Like, slapstick humor, kind of like obvious, dumb jokery. And he
is
also...
he British?
Yeah, it's a British show. It's originally a British show. I think.
No, Toby. Is Toby British?
No, I don't think so.
Gotcha.
But he also pulled a bit of humor from the internet culture, and this is very apparent with Alphys, obviously.
Yeah.
But I noticed that like after Undertale came out, like the multiple question mark thing that they do in a few areas, like really caught on. Like everybody on the internet does that now, and I'm like, it's annoying, but but it's whatever, you know. It was definitely taken well to a lot of people, but it is juvenile. A lot of the dialogue is juvenile.
Yep.
And
just like for example, there's a. I think it's in Waterfall. Waterfall is a place where they have those like echo flowers that you can like listen to.
Correct.
Yeah, like 2 flowers in, I was like, nope, not listening to this. I bypassed every flower from there on. I was like, I don't care what you have to say.
Yeah. That wasn't really, a necessary plot point. They were just like, it was more flavor for the game.
Yeah. Wow.
And a bit more lore. But the thing about there is juvenile dialogue, but that's not always a bad thing. A lot of people can get more involved in understanding, I think, in juvenile dialogue. But
I don't think it's a bad thing for a juvenile character. But like a lot of these characters, we were supposed to believe of monsters that have been there for years, and it just never felt like anyone there was an adult. It was really dumb.
Yeah. Well, one of the big points I was thinking about when you told me about the juvenile thing is like, the dialogue is a bit more than the text box. I think the monsters are also speaking to you in like attacks. Their attacks are actually like communication things. There's only like a few of the boss monsters that know you're human, because all the other monsters have no idea what a human is or what they look like. Right. And that's why you can go through and like talk to the NPCs that are like in Snowden around the Christmas tree and stuff like that in the bar, and they're basically talking to you as if you're another monster. Yep. And unfortunately,
you can get useless information from anyone.
And unfortunately, magic hurts humans in this universe that Toby's created, and the monsters are communicating with the magic, and they're communicating to you as if you were another monster. So that's kind of why you have to talk to them and stuff like that. But I guess that's more based on the combat rather than the actual dialogue. But they do like, I don't know. I feel like it's just more than the juvenile dialogue. Like the words are more deeper than that. But anyway,
maybe.
Yeah, there is juvenile conversations.
All I'm saying, like eventually, interacting with the characters just became exhausting to me. I was just like, let's finish this, please. Like, show me Asgore so I can kill him and we can get out of here.
And a lot of people do enjoy that character development. Like, you want to know more about these guys and what their deals are. But because a big point of this game is like, everybody isn't what they seem. They say they're one thing and they want to be one thing, but they're completely different from what they are. Like Toriel, she wants to be a mom or a teacher. She's actually just kidnapping you.
Yep.
And just whatever. And you have Sans who says he's a sentry and he'll kick your ass if you're not careful, but he's actually just a lazy, tired guy who just wants to laugh everything off. Papyrus wants to be a soldier. He's a big softy, things like that. And then we get to Undyne, who we meet later on in Waterfall. We have to dodge her attacks that are incoming a lot of the time, which probably annoyed you as well.
I mean, that wasn't terrible. Like that gave some urgency to the game, which I felt it needed. Yeah. And it was challenging and fun. Like that was. I would prefer more things be like that in this game.
Yeah, it was very anxiety-inducing when you're running from her.
Yes,
because she has blue light spears that she chunks at you or comes up from the ground, and whenever you get hit by them, you're drawn into a very quick time combat system where you have to dodge spears, and then you're let go, and then you can continue and so forth. But eventually, you make it through Waterfall, and you confront her.
Time for the fight. Let's go. Yeah. Oh, one thing I there's a bit of it's like for the most part, I'm not terribly thrilled with the look of the game. I just don't like that aesthetic, I guess.
You don't like the 16-bit-ish.
No, not really. Not unless it's a game that I already have a soft spot for, or like from my childhood. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I just don't buy. Seeing something in this format that I've never been introduced to before.
I see. So you're cemented in the new latest graphics craze,
I think so, yeah. Or at the very least in something. Because, I mean, like, I really like what we played, Wonder Boy.
Uh-huh.
That was really cool looking. And it's not like, I'm not playing, like, Call of Duty. Like, it's not it's not super hyper realistic, but it looks polished. And Undertale, I think, tried hard to not look polished.
Yeah, that one of the another inspiration, and probably the major inspiration of this game, was Earthbound, or the Mother series. And you've never played that, but it's on your SNES thing, I think.
Okay.
It's basically an SNES RPG genre game, or it's supposed to be styled like that. And I think he made the what's the word? The conscious choice of making it look like that, because he loves Earthbound. Like, the Mother series is like, he actually started off with making a ROM hack for Earthbound.
Gotcha.
And like it's his, like, one of his favorite games, and he wanted to kind of like make a sort of spiritual successor to that. So that was more of a conscious choice than anything. But he probably also didn't have the expertise to make it look better.
Right.
Which, can be a drawback as well, but a lot of people found charm in the graphics. So,
yeah.
That's your own opinion, Ethan. No, I'm just kidding.
It is my opinion. That is my definite preference, is not this.
Yeah. So, but either way, we meet Undyne. She's like, she tells you, and as you go through Waterfall, you learn about like the war, and like the people are the humans that came in, and they were all captured and had their souls taken. I think this is the point where they discuss that, like on the plaques that are around Waterfall. I don't quite remember, but it tells you about the war, and like how Asgore came to be, and like how he was king, and how everybody was happy, and things like that, and basically life in the underground and how it was at the time.
Gotcha.
So then you meet Undyne, who says, "Screw you. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to take your soul. I'm going to give it to Asgore. We're going to leave this place." And you fight her. But you have to run away because she doesn't let you go. And even like doing the whole dodging thing. So I forgot to mention.
I died so much. I died so many times. The structure of this boss fight is like you have to not die, and then you have to flee, and then you have to exit the fight screen, the battle scenario, and you just have to keep running down the hall or wherever it is you're going, and you have to do this like 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not die, run away, continue to run away until she catches up to you again, and then engages you in battle again. And boy, that was frustrating.
And each I forgot to mention that each boss monster has their own like little gimmick that they can do with your soul. They can change your heart color from red to blue or green or yellow, etc.
Do they all have their own music as well? Is that the case?
Yeah. Each boss has their own music. But,
and a couple of those are good.
One would say most of them, but but with Undyne, basically she throws like little arrows at you into your hitbox, and you have to like shield them and stuff. And you have to wait until she turns your heart back to red, so you can actually move and flee from her.
Oh, I watched someone do that fight, like on the genocide fight.
Yeah.
She gets nuts.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous, and I would say that she was harder than Sans was, but
Gosh.
I hate it. I probably spent so much time on that. Oh, God. And it's a pattern, and it doesn't change, and it's like I still had so much trouble with it. It's a pattern of arrows that come at you at 4 directions, and like they all come in at different speeds, and some of them like flip around you on the opposite direction, and it's a mess. And there's so many of those in the genocide fight.
Yeah.
But more on that when we get to the genocide part. So we flee from her. We get to the Hotlands, which she's a fish, she's a fish lady, and she doesn't do well in heated environments. And unfortunately, the next area is full of heat and fire and hot. So she collapses. whenever you get to the Hotlands. And conveniently, as Ethan said, there's a water fountain waiting for you.
Yeah, so you can make friends.
Yeah, you can save her, and you splash water on her face, and she's just stares at you for a minute, and then goes the other way. It's like, wow, you're friends with Undyne now.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, she doesn't progress to. She doesn't. Crap. Oh my God, words. What are these? She doesn't chase you anymore.
Yeah, she stops chasing you. She doesn't she's not like super friendly with you in that exact moment. She's just more like, okay, I'm gonna leave this alone for a while.
Yeah, the friendliness part comes in later on after you get through the game, through the pacifist ending, as they call it.
Yes.
But at this point, you're in Hotlands. You meet a few other monsters that are like, man, it's really hot in here. It's the core, and we have things going, and running through the underground, and blah 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 blah.
Boy, that's a great summary of any interaction with anyone.
No, it like a lot.
Boy, this thing sure is this thing. Bet you thought I'd say something else, didn't you? Nope, not here to help. Okay, have a great day, bye.
At this point, you meet Dr. Alphys, who is very nerdy, and she's a Stegosaurus, I guess you would say.
Yeah, she's some kind of dinosaur.
Yeah. And she's very nerdy and very scientific. She's Asgore's science person, or lead scientist, royal scientist, whatever.
I get the feeling she's not very sciencey. She just kind of put a trench coat on one day, or a lab coat on. And Asgore was like, you look like a scientist. And she was like, I guess I do. Alrighty.
But as you look through her home where she stays, and there's a lot of like anime references and manga and things like that. It's pretty hilarious. And she calls it the true history of the humans.
Yes. Yep. It's a little call out for all the weebs.
That's so stupid.
It's a little joke for them.
But anyway, she is like, hey, I've been watching you. There have been cameras. I've been rooting for you. And watching someone on a screen makes you root for them more. So I don't want to kill you. However, I built a robot. And it wants to kill you because, she wants to be involved, basically.
Yeah.
And Metaton, who you're introduced to, breaks through the wall and is like a game show host. He's basically a game show host. And he often puts on shows and tries to kill you.
Yep, he's trying to make a television show that's like a game show that ends with you dying, which is pretty unique, and I guess that's cool.
But not really, because Alphys obviously doesn't want that to happen.
Right.
Because she does actually really like how you're. It's very anime-like. She says how you're going through this and being the hero. She wants to help the hero, And obviously you're sparing everyone. And if you had been fighting up to that point, she probably wouldn't be very friendly. But she basically goes through the next area, helping you through her phone.
Helping is a strong word. That is
trying to help you through her phone.
Good.
And she
most of the interruptions are literally her updating her status on Facebook.
Yeah, it
literally stops you. It stops you in your tracks and forces you to click through this dialogue box. And I was so triggered by the end of it. I was like, stop. I hate that in real life. I turn off all of my notifications for all of my social media in real life. So this was literally a simulation of the worst day of my life. It was so bizarre. I hate it.
It's like listening to you talk about this is just so interesting to me. It's like I didn't mind that at all, I guess.
No, I hated it.
I thought it was cute.
There's a point where she literally tells you to go down into a certain door or take a certain path, and it's the wrong path. And it's it takes you to a dead end or something, and I'm just like, I hate this. Screw this. And then the next time she gives me direction, I purposefully pick the other one because I guess that's what Toby assumed you would do. And it was the wrong, like, she'd given you the right direction this time, but I chose to go the wrong way. And then she was like, well, why did you go that way? And I'm like, look, B, if you gave me any reason to trust you, I would go your way.
Through that thing, but you obviously see she's becoming distressed because she doesn't remember, even though she wants to help. And it's like, oh my God, I'm being useless. Help. I'm sorry, I can't help you very much.
Yeah, me too. Why don't you stop crying?
But there was a bit much, like the interruptions. I'll agree with that. Like I thought it was cute, but I can see why it would become
I see, like, that's another thing in this game where, like, I feel like a lot of it feels like it thinks it's cute or clever, and I don't find it that way. Like, I didn't find any of that cute. I found it really freaking annoying. And so, like, but I understand that's just I experience that differently to other people. Like, I don't care what you're putting on your social media, and I would rather just figure this out on my own. Thanks.
Yeah, and a lot of Alphys's dialogue is very internet culture oriented, and I know you don't go a lot on the internet or interact on the internet a lot.
Yeah, I don't use. No.
You're an old grandpa. So
I'm not an old grandpa. Look, my internet is for information. If I want something from you, internet, I will get onto you. I will Google something. I will pull out the information I need. I don't need you or any other human being that's using the internet to interject yourself into my life. Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that, really.
It's just funny. It's just like, this game is just a collection of a lot of things that annoy me in both life and video games, and so I think that's why I had such a rough time with it. And just...
Yeah. I mean, and maybe that was my bad.
No, I mean, I'm happy to have experienced it, and to, like, because I mean, like, I don't do a lot of video games, and even though I really would like to, and so it was very interesting to experience one that I disliked so thoroughly, and to go all the way through. I mean, most of the way through it. The last bits of it, I ended up just watching you play or watching someone on YouTube play. Yeah. So,
but so we get through the core area with Alphys, like, annoying us with
despite Alphys, we get through the core.
And we are often intercepted by Mettaton, who gives us, like, he puts you on a cooking show first, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you and add your soul to the food that we're making, and you do a little mini game, and it's pretty fun because it's it's a full screen bullet hell at this point. Like, you can dodge stuff, and
it's an actual bullet hell where you can shoot stuff. I've explained this to you. I haven't explained this to the listener yet. I enjoy bullet hells where I have the ability to shoot at things.
You get to fight back.
Yes. If I have the ability to fight back and to affect the obstacles that are coming towards me by shooting at them, I enjoy a bullet hell because I feel like that puts me into more of a position of power, which I like in my video games.
Yeah, and you did enjoy the Mettaton fight.
Yes, Mettaton was the first time I enjoyed music in this game, and it was the first time I enjoyed a boss fight in this game.
Yeah, and that is also a valid point. If somebody does criticize Undertale, it's that the bullet hell experience isn't the greatest because not everyone likes bullet hells, but a lot of people played it because they enjoyed the story or wanted to experience the story themselves.
Right.
So the bullet hell was kind of a side thing.
Which, if we're being fair, is not something I would have done either to experience the story. Like, that's never been a real motive for me in games. I don't play games for this story. Yeah. So.
But see, and this was actually a point that David made as well. He didn't enjoy the bullet hell area, but he loved the story. Like, I mean, at one point he was crying, like he said. Well, I don't know if I told you that, but sorry, David, I'm spilling your secrets.
Oh no, David cries at various things. It's no worries.
Dude, the first time I played this, I bawled my eyes out. Like, when I got to the ending of the passes, and I don't know if you were listening in the hotel room whenever we were talking to the last boss. My voice cracked. I was about to start crying again. And I don't think you picked up on it.
I super didn't.
But
I was too busy not caring.
Like my voice cracked, and I was sure you had heard me, but
nah.
Good. I masked my potential cry, but
I just don't care.
You're heartless, Ethan. You're heartless.
Not heartless. If this had been presented to me in another form, maybe. I just find it really hard to care when it's presented in the visual way that it is presented to me.
You just don't like video game stories.
Not necessarily. Like, I told this back on the GDC episode. I think I did anyway. I don't know. One of the panels I went to was a PlayStation panel, a Sony panel. And they talked about like the ability that we have now to share stories in video games, and the way that we can have impact and show emotion and really, really engage the viewer in the story in just really excellent cutscenes and things. They showed an early cutscene from The Last of Us, which I think most people would argue is a very cinematic game, very story-based, and very heartfelt, right? A lot of tear-jerking moments in there, and it was a very emotional part that I felt, you know? And he then showed that same thing, same script, using old side-scrolling beat-em-up graphic style games, and the point of it was just like, this amount of emotion would not have been as easily communicated just with the way older games were made. This is not a capability you would have had back then. It wouldn't have felt the same, and I definitely felt that. Like, it was palpably different when shown in these old 16-bit graphics, and that's just where I'm at with this game. Is that, like, I find it really hard to engage in a story when, one, I just don't like the gameplay in general, and two, I don't enjoy the visual style that is being presented to me in. So, like, there's already these obstacles set up for me. Yeah. I'm so disconnected from
signed out. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so disconnected and signed out from all of these characters that it's just like, I would rather read the story in book form. Like, I would feel more connected to them that way.
Okay. I can see that. And it's, I guess, since I'm a big video game person, I played video games ever since I was, like, in infancy. It's a lot easier for me to, like, establish this world in my mind and establish these characters as, and you know,
it's probably
friendly.
easier for you to spread your imagination out a little bit more than what's visually presented to you.
Absolutely. And because you had to do that with the older games, like, it is very much a good testament of how the games were back then.
Right.
Because there weren't a lot of graphics that could present these things in, you know, exquisite detail and things like that. Whereas, you know, games now obviously can do that. But I don't know. I guess it's a different upbringing sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe so. Because like RPGs for me weren't a part of my video game experience until later on, when graphics were already pretty decent. Like, I think some of my first RPGs were Final Fantasy, probably around Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. And many people say that, like, Final Fantasy VI is one of their favorites because of the emotional connections and stuff. And all we had back then were sprites that changed slightly and gave us story and, like, dialogue and stuff. So I can understand the disconnect that was there. But I definitely almost, like, cried when we were in that hotel. But anyway, back on track with the story.
Right.
Where were we?
We kill Mettaton.
We get involved with Mettaton a few times. And at the final point, we learn that Alphys has set all this up in order to, you know, be part of your story, to help you out. And Mettaton's like, enough of that. Screw this. I'm actually going to kill you now. And locks Alphys out of the room. And Alphys is like, holy crap, this isn't supposed to happen. What's going on? Mettaton, let me in. Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then you fight Mettaton.
Yes.
Who at this point is actually just a box with a wheel and arms and, like, a checkered face.
And then it transforms. It levels up.
he transforms like a magical girl into a human, or a human-like thing.
Yeah, humanoid, android.
He's very pretty. He's
Moving
like
to
your
his final form.
normal Bishonen anime look, which is what Alphys was going for, of course. And the music is very
great.
Yeah, it's very good. It's more like it's more of a, I guess, a transformative, a magical girl transformation theme, in the sense of like I don't know, more video gamey.
Yeah, it's a super intense theme, definitely.
And it's like one of the most beloved, like under like Hopes and Dreams, which is the final song that you heard in the game. Well, not the final, but like the final boss theme. But yeah, it's very good.
Right. Anyways, I enjoyed that fight. I enjoyed the fight with Mettaton, being able to actually shoot things. I was very sad when I could no longer do that.
Yeah, you're a little Galaga ship, and you're shooting like miniature Mettatons that are floating down and throwing things at you, and it's hilarious.
Right.
But basically, you're shooting up at Mettaton as well, who is above your screen. You're trying to hit his heart to make his legs and then his arms explode. Or is it arms first and then legs? But basically, you're on a show and your ratings are going up, and you have to do things to improve that rating. And basically, it stops at like 10,000 rating. It's really funny.
That's right. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get that rating up.
Yeah. Because you can do certain things. You can like boast that you're not going to get hit that turn.
Yes. It was a very intriguing fight. So you had to be able to wager correctly. You're like, I'm not going to get hit this turn, or I am going to get hit this turn, or just do those different things, and like depending on if you actually made it through that round without getting hit, or if you were hit, it would boost differently at certain points. Like if you got hit after you said you wouldn't get hit, some of the people would like that. Like violence would actually get more views. Like, you know what I mean? So it was an interesting.
Yeah, it's very creative. I thought that was one of the more creative, and a lot of people like that fight like more than any of the others too, because of the ratings thing.
Yeah, it's a good fight. Cool fight.
After that, we deactivate Mettaton. Basically, his battery gets drained or whatever, and we go to fight Asgore. We go through.
First, we gotta fight a dumb spider lady. She the crap out of me.
That was before Mettaton, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Miss Muffet.
Whatever.
Miss Muffet traps you, and but see, key to this, and I didn't tell Ethan this for a reason. It's because I wanted him to experience the fight. But if you, at the beginning in the ruins, there are spiders that are giving you big sell items for like 9 and 18 gold. If you keep that until that fight with Muffet, and you eat one of those in front of Muffet, she's like, "Where did you get that?" And and she's like, "You stole that, didn't you?" And one of her little spiders comes and gives her like a note saying that you purchased it, and she's like, "Oh, they must be talking about some other human," and the fight ends immediately. It's really fun that he included this, because
that's pretty fun, I guess.
But the fight itself is kind of like a Frogger thing. Like you have to skip lines.
Yes, true.
To get away from her pet, as she calls it.
Terrifying.
But it's pretty difficult. That is a pretty difficult fight, because it's very restrictive in your movements, as most of them have been to this point. But it's like sometimes I felt like the controller didn't respond. Maybe that was just my controller, but I got stuck in a lot of places, and I actually died a couple of times on that fight the first time.
I died in that fight several times, so no worries.
But after Muffet, then you fight Mettaton, and then you go through the city. I guess it's a cityscape sort of thing.
I enjoyed that. That's funny. That's pretty cool. The parallax cityscape.
Yeah, and the monsters come up that you've made friends with before, telling you about Asgore and how the war actually started with the royal couple having 2 sons.
The couple?
Fell into the underground, the first human.
Oh, yes.
and basically it tells you all about this human and how the queen and king adopted them. And they had 2 sons and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And eventually,
you learn why Asgore hates humans.
Yeah, the human becomes very ill,
right.
And basically tells the other son to take his soul so they can go through from the underground and try to reason with the humans and whatever. And that happens. Like, the human dies, and the other son takes the human soul and passes through the barrier. And basically, the humans thought that the royal son,
Azrael.
the prince, I guess, Azrael, I was holding the name, but Azrael brings the dead human there, and the humans thought that the monster had killed the human, and basically fatally wounds Azrael, in which he goes back to the underground and dies. Yeah. So Asgore and his wife, the queen, lost both of their sons in one day.
Yep.
And Asgore went crazy, swore revenge on the humans, started a war, and or at least started another one, and to get all the humans that fell in at that point and take their souls to pass through the barrier into the human world and overthrow them. Blah blah blah. So
blah blah blah.
Blah blah
indeed.
blah. So we make it to a new home, which is basically the same exact one as Toriel's that we met in the first one. And
coincidence?
And we learned that there was a queen, but we don't know who that is. And
do we not?
Not at this point, but
no, but it's like very obvious. Like,
yeah, it's basically Toriel. Like, when we should realize it whenever we find Asgore, because at this point we've never seen Asgore yet. We don't know who Asgore is except this being that is king and wants to kill us. And
right.
Right before the throne room, you can go downward and see caskets with different colored hearts on them.
Yeah.
And one empty that's red, and obviously for you.
Waiting for you!
So, at this point, we meet Sans in the final room, who shows up as the actual sentry that he claimed to be, and explains to you that the things that you have done up to that point will affect you. Like, you have level...
that's a lot. Yeah, no,
you have LV, you have HP, things like that, but these are acronyms.
Right.
LV means love, which is actually another acronym for level of violence. If you killed monsters, obviously that level, quote unquote, or the love would rise, and your level of violence would
I found that really dumb and forced.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a bit shoehorned.
And like,
XP is execution points as opposed to experience points.
Yes.
And it's just another turn of like a different sort of roleplay.
So another thing with this thing is being cheeky, and it's like, this isn't what you thought it was. Whoa, I got you. And I'm like,
But at this point, it's like, if you haven't killed anything, then he's like, oh, well, you have to make a choice now. Do you kill Asgore to go through the barrier, or let Asgore take your soul and then die? So,
gotcha.
So you go through. He says other things if you have actually killed monsters and stuff. It's like your true intentions will be tested and stuff like that. And you go through to Asgore and see that he's a big goat man. It's obviously, oh my god, Toriel's his wife.
Yes.
Because she's the queen, and there's queen things all over the new home, like a queen bed or a king size bed or whatever.
So you fight Asgore, and you die a whole lot. Because it's
not at all if you're
difficult.
good at the game.
It's so difficult.
Yeah, and that's the point where you quit. So.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the point where Ethan checked out, and I was like, I'm not invested enough in this.
And I was like, no, wait, we can do this together. Don't quit, because the neutral ending is very neutral and uninspired and stuff.
Yep.
But then after you beat Asgore, Flowey comes up and basically kills him for you, or finishes him off, assuming you've spared him. And then you take Flowey takes his soul and becomes and the other 6 human souls and basically becomes this gigantic monster thing.
Yes.
And
is it at this point where is it at this point or at the end of this fight that it's revealed that Flowey is just like a screwed up Asriel?
No, that's in the pacifist fight.
Pacifist fight.
Yeah. No.
Was that not this? Is that not this?
No, this is the neutral one because after Asgore.
Right, you have to finish this and then you play again. Or
Yeah, and then you go through the friendly interaction with with Papyrus, Undyne, and Dr. Alphys. And at that point, after you make friends with them, you meet Alphys's true lab, which you come to find out that she had been trying to create what the humans call determination and injecting them with the monsters that were dying and stuff like that.
Right. That was pretty interesting and creepy. Like that. The fact that there's this whole other secret lab and that like basically these crazy, weird, haunted experiments were happening there. That was a nice, creepy tone to it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that section.
And Alphys was obviously trying to keep these monsters alive in order to create something to get through the barrier.
Yes.
But they were failures, and they became these weird amalgamations of like different monsters and stuff.
Yes.
And after that, you go through again, and then Toriel comes in as you fight Asgore for the second time, or at least this is the first time if you've gone through the save and gone back for the pacifist ending. And then all of your other friends come in. So there's Sans, Papyrus, Undyne, Dr. Alphys. All of them are there. And then Flowey comes up again and tries to kill you again. It tries to kill them. But then all the monsters from the underground are like, hey, screw you. And then Flowey's like, haha, you've all fallen into my trap. And he absorbs everybody's soul.
Yes.
So at this point...
So then you have to fight everyone all over again. In a tiny little, like each of them has their own tiny little sort of section. And you have to fight them, and then you have to find a way. You essentially are freeing them, those souls, as you fight this guy.
After you get all the souls, Flowey becomes Asriel, which is the royal son, the prince that the queen and king lost.
So we learned that Asriel was reborn as a flower and like lost all of his memory and crap and just went nuts.
Well, he lost his emotions, and
right.
And because Alpheus had injected determination and Asriel's essence into a flower, and that's how Flowey came to be. And after getting all this power, he transformed back. Yeah, he transforms back into Asriel and basically fights you. You learn that your name is Frisk after you defeat him, and he doesn't want you to leave, but having all this emotion again is like, and feeling all the monsters' love for you and for the friendliness and stuff like that, turns his emotions again and makes him very sad about what he did, and very very remorseful.
A likely story.
And that's where my voice broke whenever I was reading his dialogue about him like saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to do this, and I just wanted a friend. I wanted you to stay," things like that. I was like, oh god, I'm tearing up right now. Jesus Christ.
And I was like, boring. Next.
Yeah. And so afterward, Asriel destroys the barrier himself and allows all the monsters to go free, even though he's being transformed back into a flower. And,
what a happy day.
Yeah. And then he goes back into the underground. Very, very sad, tragic story for Asriel, because he doesn't get any closure, really, but I guess, some sacrifices.
He is the tragic hero.
And then you come to the underground, from the underground to the overworld. You get to experience the sun and go into the human world with your friends.
What a great day.
And then happiness ensues.
And then you can play the game over again and kill everyone.
Yeah, if you do kill everyone, a lot of things change. Like there's a lot of creepy music that comes involved, and even though you're fighting them, like Papyrus is still trying to steer you in the right direction, despite having just like decapitated him.
That's true.
And,
those fights get intense, and they're difficult. They're very, very hard, and then also like. That's when I started to feel some emotion in this game. So, like, things that get me in games are more when you want to make a difficult decision, and then someone begs you to not. Like, that's a struggle for me. Like, just in freaking... I play a game called Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions on my PSP, and your clan, your party can get pretty full pretty quickly, especially if you have animals in it, because they breed like freaking rabbits, and they'll just fill up your party. So if you have chocobos, you'll eventually have way too many chocobos, and if you want more units, like humans, you have to let some of them go. But when you click on it, and you like click on it and hit release, there's always a little dialogue box of like, it looks at you very sad. It looks like it wants to stay. And I'm just like, stop it. Stop that so much. Like, it does that, just like 3 different variations of that same thing. And so at this point, I've gotten to a point where I just have to do it really quick without looking. Otherwise, I'll just be like, oh, fine, you can stay. I hate that. I hate that so much. I'm like, stop it. Stop making me feel things.
The genocide ending is full of that. It's like...
It super is.
Monsters are, like, fleeing from
you. Another gripe I have about this game is that, like, it has like the illusion of choice that you mentioned before. Like, it pretends to be branching and to give you these other options, but it absolutely wants you to play it in a very specific way, and it will make you feel bad for playing it in any other way. Like, that is its goal, is to allow you to learn how it wants you to play it by letting you mess up and reminding you that you have messed up. Even if you go back, even if you don't save your mistakes or don't save how many people you've murdered, you go back to your save, whatever it is, it will keep record of that and let you know. And that infuriates me.
But also, that's one of the cool things about this game, is that it actually does do that, and you can experience different changes and stuff through the game.
Right.
And a lot of people might want to, explore that, like see what kind of changes they can do, how they can mess with the file or the game itself. And
I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, you're obviously not, because you're very patient with it.
I'm not very patient, and I'm very like...
One and done.
No, I'm mechanics oriented. I prefer a game that I enjoy the mechanics of and can learn them, because I have played and will play Final Fantasy Tactics, any version of it, for years to come. I've put hundreds of hours into those games, and still will, and have no problem doing it, because I like exploring all the nuances of the battle system. I like the actual gameplay. I don't really care about the story. I know a little bit about the story from Tactics. I could not tell you what's going on in War of the Lions, because I pick it up and play it for a bit, and then I'll leave it alone for years at a time, and then come back to it and still play it, because I like the gameplay. I don't really care about what's happening in the story.
Yeah.
And that's what got me in here, is just like, I didn't care about the story or the characters, and then on top of that, I did not like the gameplay. Just on a personal level, it didn't really speak to me.
I did. So
no,
and
that's
game.
fine. And tons of people do, and I understand that. I want to get through some of my gripes now that we...
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I mentioned that I didn't like the combat system. I mentioned that I enjoyed fighting Mettaton. I'm just going through. I have a list of things. Oh, music. I felt like the music in a couple places was great, but for the most part was just passable. But everybody seems to be absolutely enamored with this music, and I'm just like, I don't get that. To me, it just sounded like music that should have been in a video game, and so it just seemed like it fit to me.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't bad.
I find that questionable too, but I guess that's more personal opinion things.
I guess and that's a more subjective thing.
Because the Undertale music has been remixed and like recovered from so many people.
And I like some of the remixes. I liked Homeboy's guitar shreddy version of it.
Richard,
that guy.
Yeah,
that was cool. I enjoy that. It's just I guess I don't really get down to video game music in general. So unless it's presented to me in a newer, fresher format, like I like Taylor Davis's like violin covers of things, and I like symphony orchestras that do video game music. That's really cool to see and to experience. And I like I said, I like Rich Hot and other like Power Glove are really freaking cool metal versions of things like that. That's fine. For me, music for the most part should fit the game, but it doesn't need to be anything major. Although I do love some Final Fantasy music. I like me some Final Fantasy.
Well, yeah, Square Enix has top tier music like Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Deus Ex, things like that. Like they are always top tier.
Absolutely. And so that does make it also impressive that this guy by himself was able to make music that a whole lot of people connected with and loved. Like that's definitely an achievement.
Absolutely.
So I don't like when games or other things that are supposed to be story oriented give you a really flat main character and just say, hey, it's you, interject yourself. I'm like, no. If you want me to care about a story, give me a character that I care about, a character who I feel's decisions are mean something and who have their own motivations. So at this point, the only motivation I had was I should finish this game because we're going to talk about it. I didn't feel like I had any other motivations in the actual thing. Because, like, if I wanted to stop, like, what if I got to a point where I was like, I'm fine living with toil for the rest of my life. I didn't actually have that option, and the other option didn't seem very good to me. Like,
well, on the other hand, there are a lot of games that give you the illusion of choice. Like Undertale, like Ocarina of Time actually does this. Whenever you first meet Zelda in the courtyard, she asks you to keep the secret or keep something, Ganondorf a secret. And if you choose no, she's like, "Oh, come on," and then asks you again. There's a lot of games that actually do that. But,
I understand that. Yeah. I just don't like it. That's fine.
That's fair.
But this is a game that's like Ocarina is a game that has a story, yes, but you're a little bit more free and you can enjoy things that. There are other things that I enjoy about Ocarina that I don't enjoy about this game. Like the combat and everything in Ocarina, that's fine. I don't feel as reflected in this game. And like this game, just if it wants me to care about its story, I feel like it should give me a better character to care about. And I don't think it did that. I think it was kind of a cop out. Like that's what it felt like to me. Well,
maybe that's another like upbringing thing because a lot of main characters in games are kind of self-insertion things, like a lot of
maybe, but like I feel like you can self-insert your game into. I feel like you can self-insert yourself into a game or a story where there is a legitimate main character. Like you know what I mean? Like Luke Skywalker, as much as he is probably a Marty Stew, is meant to be that way so that you can pretend you're him and insert yourself into that story and care about him.
Yeah.
This is just a blank slate that was designed to be this weird androgynous thing that anyone could be, and I'm like, I don't like you're obviously trying to do that, and that throws me off.
Yeah,
try to trick me, please.
I guess that goes back to like imagining like your own world and stuff and other things going on. Like that's an extension of that.
I felt like it was telling me to do that. It was like, hey, use your imagination, and I'm like, no. You're presenting a work
I want to be lazy
of art to me. I'm not lazy. You went through the trouble of creating all these other characters. Give me something. Give me some reason to push the story forward. Anyways.
Okay.
I mentioned how it prefers you to play a certain storyline a certain way. I really liked the. There was a couple puzzles that I really enjoyed, and that was when you had to like move blocks around so you could shoot a thing. I would play like a mini game. I would play a mobile game of that forever. Like that was super fun. Like that puzzle was really cool. So I enjoyed that. I mentioned before that I just don't enjoy the bullet hell aspect of this game because I prefer bullet hells where I can shoot back. Oh, also. Talking about illusion of choice, you can't just choose to die. Like, I would be A-okay with an ending where you die and it's like, do you give up or do you let Asgore take your soul? I was like, let him have that soul, baby. I want him to have that soul, go nuts, break open the barrier, and I want to see what happens when he busts into the human world. Like, I would love to see that.
during the Sans fight, whenever he tells you that he's sparing you, do you want to give up or not?
Bro,
Right.
that was dope. Sans. Okay, so there's this is great. In the genocide version, when you're fighting Sans, the whole time. First off, it's a very brutal fight. He is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And second,
and at this point, you learn that he's like a time traveler. Like he knows about certain timelines and stuff. And
he's one of the people that's aware of what you. So like him and Flowey are like two of the entities in this realm who are aware of your ability to travel in time.
Yeah.
And what you've
like
been
travel
doing in the
back
timeline.
to save points and things
Yes.
like that. Mm-hmm.
And so once you learn that, or when you're fighting Sans, there's a point in time where he's like, "Hey, look, I know you're still a good person somewhere deep down inside. Let's not fight, please." And you have an option to spare him. And so when you pick that option, you pick spare. And it's like, usually your fighting ends. You'll come out and you'll have some dumb conversation with whatever character you were just fighting, yada, yada, yada. That's typical for this game. But at this point, you spare him, and he's like, awesome, now die. And he just kills you. He just murders you in cold blood, and you just die, and game over. And I was like,
the dog
that's
comes up, and he's like,
the best thing I've seen in this game. Like, Sans is such a thug. I was so happy with that.
Yeah, it's like get dunked on.
Yes, it was great.
The dog theme.
Just bring it in, guys. Let's have a hug, and I'm gonna slit your throat. It was so cool. I was very happy with that. That was sweet.
And he's like, if you have any like confirmation of what you've decided, then just stop now, and you have the option of like quitting the game and stuff.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that was really good, and a lot of people like that. But.
At the end of the genocide run, though, the game is essentially like, hey, why don't you play this again and not kill people? Like, there's a dialogue box basically like that, and I'm like, yeah, this game just wants you to do it a certain way. That triggers me at times. But anyway, all in all, I think if you have any inkling to try this game, if you are story-oriented in your video games, you would probably very much enjoy this, and you should definitely do it.
Absolutely.
It is worth the experience, whether or not. I mean, if you feel like you're a gamer like me, if you feel like you're a gamer like me and you just don't want the frustration, maybe don't. But if
yeah, I mean, at that point, you can probably watch someone play it because there are a lot of YouTube videos.
Just listen to us
play through. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Yeah, just listen to us, even though we rushed the ending because things.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. But yeah, it's definitely worth a play. If you haven't. I mean, at this point, if you're still listening, you've been spoiled, but it's still worth a play or a watch.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah. Thank you, Eddie, for making me play this game.
No problem. Sorry you didn't like it very much.
No, it's okay. I think it's made me a better critic, and it's helped me learn more about what I like in games, so
yeah,
that's fine.
Absolutely. It's a learning experience.
It is.
Life experience.
What should people be nerding out to, Eddie? What have you been nerding into? How's that
watching
WoW?
Iron Fist. Well, WoW too, but WoW's kind of tapering off because, things have been done. So.
Yeah. You're watching Iron Fist. I started Iron Fist. I still haven't finished the first episode.
Oh man. Well, you might not like it like farther in because something happened.
Oh no.
Well, not something, but someone shows up and.
Cool.
Well. You'll see. Anyway.
I'll see indeed. But yeah.
BoJack Horseman came out yesterday. I'm gonna be watching that because BoJack is great.
I've never seen an episode.
Well, okay. Anyway, no, it's very good. It's very fun and depressing as well. So
Gotcha.
It's a good show. What have you been nerding out to, Ethan?
So started that Iron Fist. What else have I really been doing? I've been reading a lot of comics lately on Webtoon, just because that's just what I'm doing right now. Yep. that's doing a lot of that. So that's what most of my time has been. Started Iron Fist. We'll probably keep watching that, and definitely will be finishing Voltron. I watched a couple more episodes this past week, so I'll probably be finishing that this week. And fun shout out to Scott and Kaylee again. Oh. They recently got a nice little USB mic, so they might be joining us for more for more episodes of the show. Look out for that, everybody. That'll be fun. But I feel like there was something I wanted to mention that I will be nerding out to. Oh, we both watched the freaking Nintendo Direct, and I was very pleased with a lot of the things in that. I'm so excited for the Final Fantasies that are coming to the Switch. Like, I'm so ready for 12, 10, and 10-2. Like,
yeah.
I'm so excited. Ugh.
It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be so great. But yeah. So that's that. I think that's about it for this episode. Yeah, let us know how you feel about Undertale, if you played it, if you liked it. Let us know if you didn't like it. I would love to hear if anyone doesn't like this game and see if their opinions line up with any of mine. But let us know how you feel about it, and thank you for listening to us. You can find the pod, or you can talk to us on Twitter at TNYKPod. You can also find us on Facebook, or hit us up through our Gmail at thosenerdsyouknowpod at gmail.com. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, CastBox, and Stitcher. But if you could, give us a like, a comment, subscribe, whatever those things are, that whatever platform you use would be good on, do that. Reviews are great. We love those. But thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to anybody who shares this with a friend. We appreciate all the help we get from y'all. I think that's about it. My name's Ethan.
I'm Eddie.
And we are those nerds, you know. Oh.